right. Good morning. Good morning. All right, girls. Let's get into it, because we're gonna be here for a hot second, but hopefully not too long to go over another mess of a person. All right. Music coming to a pause. Music coming to a pause in 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's do this, okay? Today's pod will be out later today, and it's going to be about the T-App and the Coldplay cam, mob justice, and we're going to talk about abuse, toxicity, consent. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brittany Simon, who do philosophy through pop culture. We're going to be talking about the Alex Lolo controversy. There's DMs, there's receipts, there's a public apology that he took down, but don't worry, Twitter had the screenshots, so we're going to go over it. I want to talk about this because we've talked about it before. This will not be the first time we have talked about liberal men and why you should be concerned about them, because they are still men raised under patriarchy, and the misogyny is conditioned into them, right? I think, like many of us, we've come across what we perceive as men who are open-minded, who lack bigotry, who hopefully are deconstructing, only to find out that when push comes to shove, right? Now, here's the thing about Alex, in case you don't know who he is. Let me show you his face. This is his face. I had him blocked so long ago. Now, I could be wrong, but I think, and it's been forever, but I think I blocked him because he stepped out of line a little bit and over the election time, but I'm not sure. Right? So move past that, right? And I blocked him. So I had to go unblock him on TikTok, only to find out that his account is empty, right? Like, is anyone else seeing his videos? As far as I can see, it's completely empty. So completely empty, not here, doesn't exist, but he is a lawyer. I think he's a defense attorney. And he has been featured on Hassan's podcast, which I see in chat. Isn't he Hassan's close friend? I think you're a troll, because if you know anything about being on social media, nobody's close friends. Joke's on you. Nobody is close friends. Yes, Hassan has collabed with him, and yes, Hassan put out a message about him, but nobody is close friends. You think people are close friends, and unless both of those people agree to it, most people barely know each other. And the same way, you are not close friends with your coworkers, but you might be close friends with some of them, maybe. So I highly doubt Hassan and him were giggling and texting back and forth with each other, because that just isn't what happens in YouTube land. I know that's the illusion, and I know the audience loves it, and the audience builds that parasocial relationship with content creators and their friends, but that's not what actually is happening. It's not even happening in real life. It's not even happening with politicians. We don't know each other. So I'm not going to hold it against Hassan for collabing with a guy who rose to prominence being this like liberal lawyer. Okay? Because one of the problems with the world is that we don't usually background check everybody we talk to or collab with. And if we really started, and this is why I want you to keep in mind today, if we really started to be very high standards about who we socialized with, we would never socialize with most people. Right? Because most of y'all, the bar is in hell. Most of you are not good people, but you're good enough in an evolutionary sense. But most people are not good people. And yet here we are. And yet here we are. Okay? So let's be so for real. We believe in accountability with a road to redemption. We believe in restorative justice. We believe in holding people accountable, so they have to embody the belief they have. We have to embody our actions and our beliefs. Whatever gender you are, wherever you are from, you were raised in the world, and the world is a bigoted place. You are not exempt from bigotry or prejudice, right? So let's talk about it today. Like I said, it's not our first time, but what I want to do is introduce you to Alex, since all his videos have been basically taken down. This YouTube channel called The True Jinx, I don't know who they are, said, I saved this back in March. This is the video they had saved from Alex's channel, Low Overruled, and basically gives you an idea of Alex and who he is. So check this out.
But not one time in my life has someone...
Hold on, the volume's a little low, but let's see.
I hate to say this, but not one time in my life has someone said to me, let me set you up with this person, and that person was attractive. I'm really sorry. Not a single time. That says more about me. You know, it's like, I don't think of myself as a shallow person. Have I been shallow? Yeah, I've been shallow. But I just think for dating purposes, not even for dating purposes, I'll go out on a date with anybody. I'll go out on a date with any person. This is making me look like such a fucking prick. But it's me. I'm making myself look like a prick. Whatever, you guys act like you don't fucking have high standards. You're allowed to have high standards. Who cares? I'm not worried about it. Like, I don't need anybody to set me up with anyone. That's not what I need. I just need you to stop insulting me is what I hate to say this, but not one.
Okay. So a couple of things there stand out to me. One, I don't really believe anyone's ugly. So, okay, there's two ways to look at this because I think it sets up our moral compass and how we interact with the world and how it impacts our ethics. We know studies have been done that people judge you for having bad teeth, gap teeth, yellow teeth, that your smile can be the difference between people thinking you committed a crime and not committed a crime. So we know for a fact that pretty privilege is real. So I think in some sense, we all know that there's an ugly and a pretty. But I also think in action, in practice, most of us are pretty ugly and we date ugly because no one's really a 10, but everyone's kind of beautiful because of that. Everyone's just kind of a person. Like, if I'm in love with you, you're attractive. I don't give a fuck if you got half a face missing. I'm into it, baby, because I love you. And that's how I think it is for most people. I genuinely think most people that are genuinely in love with the people they're in love with, not most people on the planet, but most people who are in love with the people they're in love with, they do not care what they look like. I think people who are not in love, people who are just dating because they want status, yeah, they're going to be shallow. But that's why we use the word shallow to be in contrary to depth. I want a profoundly deep relationship with my partner. So I'm going to love them no matter what. But if you are looking for something shallow, then yes, that's why we have the word shallow. Habibi, please keep up. I feel like people, really set themselves up for failure by not recognizing, we have words for these things. This is why we say, hey, you're shallow. And I do think it is shallow. Okay? So you need to remember this. Okay, so that's him, right? That's Alex, just to give you an idea. I'll link this TikToker in the chat since they did provide the video, which I appreciate. Okay, that was from the True Jinx. Thank you, Jinx. Okay, next. My allergies. So this is Alex's page. He's not... Oh, God, hold on. Great start, Brittany. Great start to the stream, girls. Ooh. So all his content is gone. Okay, now I'm going to reblock him again because that's how it was before. I had him blocked and I can't exactly remember why, but I remember something about him stepping out of bounds. Either he got in a fight with a black content creator or said something stupid about women. I don't remember which one it was, but I feel like it was something related to that. Okay, now on Reddit, people are dropping receipts. Okay, I'm going to set this up and then I'm going to kind of jump into my focus topic today. So this is from Lolo to somebody. This is on Hassan Piker's Reddit page, just so you know. It says, "Got, how's that? Okay, I'd rather have you sitting on my dick. Like, looking so fucking good. Sweaty hot face." The replier says, "Don't message me again. Blocked. You cannot message this person again." They said, "Do not message me again." I really love the energy, girls. Whoever that was, I love the energy, okay? Next receipt. If that's okay with you, well, seeing as I'm all the way in New Zealand, oh no, it says, "I have a partner, by the way, we're open. If that's okay with you." They said, "Well, seeing as them all the way in New Zealand, ha ha ha. LOL, got any pics for me? Tongue face. LOL. Oh, hey, there's a bunch on my page. LOL. LOL. I'm sorry. This is a very serious topic today. I just thought it was very funny. Okay. LOL. Why is that so funny? I'm sorry. This is not very funny. Okay. Next content creator with the receipts I want to show you. This is from Hope You Find Your Dad. Love that username. Okay, here we go.
If it's related to Alex Lolo, then that's not drama. I mean, this dude apparently was all up and down being a pest. It's completely unacceptable.
I have a platform and I acknowledge that. So I'm coming forward today to back up all the women sharing their allegations about Alex LOLO, because I also had a very strange interaction with him that made me uncomfortable. Well, if my interaction isn't even half as bad as some of the horrific things they're saying, I fully believe, based off of the weirdness of it, that he's capable of doing this other stuff. If you haven't already heard, this man right here, Alex Peter, goes by LOL or LO Overruled, has gone into hiding today because women across the internet are coming forward with stories about their interactions with him. The allegations range from a number of things, like trying to take advantage of SWs or just straight up threatening women. The biggest part is the quantity and the fact that they all show the same things. He's very quick to anger, get defensive, he's very entitled, and he's trying to take advantage of women. And yeah, I was also scared of upsetting a very beloved man with a huge platform, because we've seen what they can do when they get angry and start lying. Anyways, here's what happened with me. He's very large, obviously. I followed him and Hassan for a while. I really looked up to them. I was pretty excited when he followed me back. And he even went to my Instagram and followed me back. And as you can see, like, I have a lot of friends that are friends with him. We work in the same industry. This is a very awkward situation that happened. And then sometime later, even though he's 34 years old, he did the high school boy thing where he went through and liked a couple photos of me in a bikini and then said nothing. And I noticed it, but I ignored it. I was like, maybe he's just being supportive, okay? Then one day I wake up, my alarm goes off at 11:30 every day because I'm up until like 5 a.m. working on stuff, whatever. And I see that he has messaged me earlier around 9 a.m. saying, do I have to DM slide? Is that how I hit on you? And I'm like,
Do I have to DM slide? Is that how I hit on you? And I just want to say, as a person who believes in ethical non-monogamy as a viable way to do relationships, this is absolutely the dude who's in an open relationship just so he can get pussy, which is deeply misogynistic. Remember, nothing wrong with casual sex unless your view of casual sex is using people as a sex toy. Then it's deeply entitled misogynistic. It's bullshit. If you are only fucking women as a means to get your rocks off, you are gross. You are gross.
I'm like screaming. I don't know what to do. I call up one of my friends who knows him and I'm like, I don't know how to respond. Like, how do I not make this awkward, not make him feel embarrassed, right? Because we all are attending the same events and stuff. So if I have to run into him, like, what do I say? We're trying to conjure up a very polite response at this point, but it's too late. Only a few minutes have gone by, and he just goes, yeesh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, so March 11th at 9:26 a.m. Do I have to DM slide? Is that how I hit on you? Gross. 11:46. Yeah, yeesh, sorry.
LOL. Realistically, it's probably been like 5-6 minutes I'll give you since I read this message because I do other stuff on my phone before I open up IG. But also, sir, you sent that message around 9 a.m. You've been sitting here checking constantly for hours to see if I've read the message. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that. Sorry. And he goes, my bad.
Oh man, she did so good. Because what am I supposed to say to that? He says, my bad, have a great day. What a fucking loser. What a fucking pathetic piece of shit loser. What a fucking pathetic piece of shit loser.
Have a great day. And then he unliked all the photos that he had liked. The whole interaction was weird, uncomfy, and disappointing, especially from like an influencer whose friend group I've looked up to for so long. But that's not how you address and speak to women. And to get like weirdly worked up that I didn't immediately respond, I could have been like making breakfast. I guess maybe that's an admission that he kind of knew that this was strange for a 34-year-old.
Oh, did not realize he was 34. Even worse. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and link her YouTube video. Listen, I want to talk about this because I think it is so serious. All men are misogynists under patriarchy. You have to deconstruct the patriarchy. If you do not, you will do this kind of shit because you genuinely have not embodied a reality in which women aren't just there for you to fucking get your rocks off of, right? Like your rocks off. Do you understand me when I say this? Sorry, hold on. I'm touching my mic. It's probably making horrible noises. Listen, you have to actually embody the understanding. You have to deeply actually value women as people outside of gender, by the way. So first, you learn to value women as people. Wow. Then you learn to value people outside of their gender. Wow. Say it with me, kids. Wow. Okay. We're going to learn. I'm going to go so hard the next 12 months, bro. I'm giving myself a year to make people understand how fucking bigoted and prejudiced they are. All of us. We have to work on it. It does not come natural. We have to work on it. And that's why I say I would not be surprised if Hassan had allegations against him, because he is also a fuckboy in this world. He might not look it, no, he does look it. He might not have allegations, and I hope he never does, but I wouldn't put it past him because he's still a man under patriarchy. Okay? Now, my hope is nothing ever comes out about Hassan, because my hope is nothing comes out about anybody. Because my hope is that we have less and less of these things being a reality for people over time, right? I would really love to live in a world where we don't hear something about Hassan. That'd be great. But I'm not going to sit here and hold my breath. No, I'm not. Okay? Same way I'm not going to hold my breath expecting women not to be transphobes and homophobes. Because the majority of women on this planet are absolutely anti-LGBTQIA. So I'm not going to hold my breath either. I'm not going to hold my breath when 90% of the planet is incredibly bigoted and doesn't even know it, hasn't even started to deconstruct. So I'm not holding my breath for anybody. But I will say his response to this has been reassuring. Let's watch it. Okay, because people are trying to drag Hassan into this. They're using Hassan in their thumbnails and in their titles, like Hassan's friend, like as if this is Hassan's responsibility. He probably doesn't know Alex. They're probably not close. He's worked with him, yes. They've probably texted or gone to each other's houses at some point. But I'm pretty sure they're not bestie texting, okay? Because it doesn't seem like they have that kind of connection. Okay.
Just warning you, chat's gonna be brigaded today as hell today because of something related to Twitter. Have you checked Hostwit recently? No, I don't have Twitter on my phone, and therefore I do not look at Twitter when I'm not live. If it's related to Alex Lolo, then that's not drama. That's like straightforward creep shit. Okay, if that's what you guys are referencing as drama, you're a psycho. That's not drama at all. Apparently, it was all up and down being a pest. And
pause here. The reason I appreciate this from Hassan, okay, not to give a man credit, but listen, is we do downplay sex pestry. But you know what you do with a pest? You exterminate it. Or if you're a vegan, you take it out and put it in a field so it doesn't come back into your house. I'm kind of vegan, okay? I'm plant-based right now. So instead of exterminating, we take the pest and we put it out into the woods so it can't get back to civilization. You feel me? You feel me? Okay. So I appreciate this because we have to remember, like, this is, I would say, like 70% of the actual problems in communities are not full-blown like rapists, but a step below, which is consent gray people who get away with the grayness of consent and then they don't give informed consent. They don't think about it. Okay, I'll give an example because I talk about this a lot on my channel. I'll go back to Hassan in a second. So we talk about, and in case you're new to my channel, I'm going to go over it again. We talk about the 3 types of consent. Okay. We talk about no consent, consent, and informed consent. So this is your grandma and this is your grandpa's, right? This idea that like just grab a woman and kiss her, you know, just like that's consent enough, okay? Then there's liberal consent, which is, hey, can I kiss you? But it doesn't give you the informed idea of what entails or what is entailed in that kiss. And then there's informed consent, which is, hey, I'd like to kiss you, but just so you know, I just had a cold sore outbreak on my lip like a week ago, but it seems to be gone. Are you still comfortable kissing me? Or, hey, I just had a cold this week, so I might actually still be contagious, but would you like to still kiss me? Okay? One offers you, and one is the goal, informed consent, okay? Where do we think Alex falls into? Which bubble did Alex fall into? He slid into girls' DMs and said, "Is this the way I hit on you?" Which is a combination of no consent in a sense, but also a little bit of a combination of consent in a sense. Because he's not saying, "Hi, I'm really attracted to you. I'm in an open relationship. Is it okay if I inquire on whether or not you are available to mingle?" He said, "Hi," is sliding into your DMs the way like I tell you you're hot. So it's like, it feels like no consent because he goes straight into what I call like bad flirting. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes flirting is sort of a consent violation in and of itself because the way people choose to flirt, right? So we have to decide in which way did Alex engage in proper consent etiquette? Because, you know what I mean? I think he's kind of failing. I think there's like a failed attempt here. So I would say Alex is somewhere between let's see, these two for sure. you know, I wouldn't say he even got close to informed consent. He tried. I'm in an open relationship, he said. He said, you know, what do you think? Are you interested? But like, it wasn't what I would have preferred in terms of a proper consent conversation, personally. And I do think consent varies from bubble to bubble. And I try to meet people where they are in terms of their consent rules. But I will say that as I get older, I'm trying to move everyone towards an informed consent reality, because I think it's the best one. But I think most people kind of vibe in the consent one. I knew a guy once who was fucking multiple people. And I said, hey, are they in birth control? And he says, I don't know. We haven't talked about it. And I said, well, you should probably talk about it. And they're like, well, I wouldn't have sex with somebody who wasn't responsible. So I'm assuming they've got it covered. And I was like, you're like consenting to not being informed, which I think is irresponsible for everybody involved. Right? And this person was older. Okay. This was not a young person. This was an old person. Okay. So I think there's something that's in people's brains where, because their ego is so fucking frail, they kind of want to believe that they don't have to do the due diligence, because doing the due diligence is an implication that they aren't smart in who they choose. But that's not the point. The point is to protect yourself. The point is to protect your partner. What if your partner just didn't think about it? What if your partner didn't think it was a big deal? What if your partner just, you know, it's like, you should talk about it. Oh, STI testing as well, chat. That was another question I had for them. Did you guys get STI tested? And they're like, well, why would we have to? Again, it's this idea of like, well, I trust this person. They would tell me if they had something. How would they know they had something if they didn't get tested? What do you mean? What do you mean? So again, informed consent is like, I remember when I was courting my now partner, we're married now. Before we met up, okay, they flew from Europe to to Arizona. Before they came to America, we both got STI tested. We got a panel done. I got on birth control just to make sure. Okay. We had condoms just in case we needed them. We did all of our due diligence ahead of time, which, by the way, with no guarantee of sex. So here's another thing about consent. My partner and I, okay, because we are very progressive and very consent based, we did all of that preparation knowing either of us were allowed to revoke consent for sex, because we hadn't physically met yet. And what if we met and we didn't want to have sex with each other? You know, there was I told them, I am not going to hold it against you if we don't have sex, because even though we just invested all this money, because these things cost money, we wanted to value consent above anything else. But I could see another bubble, another version of a person existing where they're like, I can't believe I just spent this money on blah, 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 blah. I just went to the doctor's appointment and blah, blah. And you didn't give me sex from any gender, from any person, right? And so I want you to remember that, you know, your words only mean something if the actions follow. I am okay with casual sex. I am not okay with people using each other as like sex toys. Just use a sex toy. Even if you hire a sex worker, you cannot treat that sex worker like a sex toy. You cannot objectify them. It is unethical. It is immoral. It is bad. Every person you're interacting with should be treated with the dignity of their humanity. And if you treat people as objects, I'm going to be mad at you. I'm going to think less of you. And I think you're a bad person. Okay. All right. Back to Hassan.
And it's completely unacceptable. Yeah. And you guys are being ridiculous if you think that this is just drama. That's not just drama, dude. That's like, it's incredibly disappointing. It's not something that I was obviously privy to. I was completely oblivious to whatever the going on, and it's a betrayal of my trust. And
because remember, this guy used Hassan. I have other TikToks from other content creators, used all of the associations he had with other people to validate his reputation. Remember that. Remember that one of the problems of collabing people with big channels is you have to remember not everyone who gets to big status is a good person. So you have to remember, from Alex's perspective, he is also benefiting from the associations of these people, because these people say, well, if Hassan is friends with him, well, if this person is friends with him, he must be safe, which is why moving forward, I'm so strict about who I collab with. And still, even then, I'm constantly worried, like, shit, did I collab with somebody that because I don't know these people. You have to understand, for most of us, we are collabing and that's the only time we talk. We almost never talk outside of collabing. Maybe a DM here or there, like, hey, I liked your video, hope all is well. But like, we don't know each other. But from the audience's perspective, they're getting the validation. They're getting, you know, safe by association. You know?
And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Apparently, and I don't know the full details of what's going on, but I heard like bits and pieces about him like potentially being abusive, and I didn't like I didn't know enough about what was going on, but it was enough for me to like, you know, sever ties. And then past that point, now there's apparently a bunch of people that he was literally in the DMs of all over, all up and down Twitter, like leftist Twitter accounts, public defenders, and even,
you know who it reminds me of? It reminds me, not to bring him up, but Vosh. You know how Vosh is like in people's DMs, and like the people you least expect are like, how is he in your DMs? It's like the sex pestry of the internet. But we have to remember that ultimately these are people raised under patriarchy. These are men who use misogyny as a way to pwn conservatives, right? That's why I say I look at Hassan sideways, because he also uses misogyny to pwn conservatives. Like, I look at it sideways. I look at myself sideways. That's why I'm always holding myself accountable and saying like, I don't want to have to use prejudice or bigotry language in order to do these things, which is different than being in a safe space where my audience is mostly LGBTQIA. We're very progressive. We're deconstructed. We're working on it. We're always calling each other out, but with love. Okay, and a path to redemption. But for us, you know, if we're out here saying like, oh, these men, it's different than a Myron Gaines saying women, because my actions aren't followed up with discriminating against men or advocating for their vote to be taken away, right? And then the difference is like, I don't believe this. This is a part of a group speak in which we're expressing frustrations with the patriarchy. Okay, this is the issue. Okay, that says, how did you first discern your partner's intentions when they reached out to you on IG? Are you talking to me? That is not how I met my partner. My partner did not reach out to me on IG. My partner, I have a Discord I run for my patrons, and my partner saw me in a collaboration and said, oh, nobody seems to understand Brittany, but I think like I understand her. He joined the Discord. He was a vibe. He was there. He's gone now. He left right after we became more intimate, obviously, because it would have been inappropriate. And we were in a discussion, a group discussion, and it was clear we had things in common. It was like clear we had a connection. And I was like, cool. And then we were friends, and then very quickly went on our first date together. So for me, I always knew I would find my person through my job, right? That was always an obvious. He wasn't a fan, which I think is very important, right? He was a adult viewer who came in after a collab and hadn't seen much of my work, right? So the thing that's interesting is that for me, a lot of people had asked me, like, how do you know he's not tricking you into thinking like he knows you and by watching your videos or something? Because no matter how much people watch my videos, they never see me. Because no matter how much my family knows me, they never see me. When you're really looking for somebody who sees you, right? When you're really looking for somebody who knows you and somebody who's a good person, and when you're old enough and wise enough, you've discerned, and I've done a lot of work to discern, guys. It's much easier for me at this stage of my life to be like, no, which is why I was going on first dates and knocking people out of the way. No. And then I had a first date, you know, up with, well, we talked for a bit, 2 weeks before we had our first date. And I was like, oh, I feel very seen by this person. I feel very humanized. I feel very humanized by this person. I felt seen, you know? That's what I want for all of you. I want you to humanize. I want you to dignify. I want you to see people as actual people, right? And then call them out on their bullshit, right? We're still going to call people out on their bullshit, okay? Chet said, wait, can you expand on why him being on the Discord would be inappropriate? Because it's my working space. Friends, family, they don't need to be in the Discord. I tried having it where I had friends on my Discord before, and it got weird. Like, viewers would try to become closer to my friends as a way to get to me, and it was like super awkward and toxic. And then my partner isn't a public figure and doesn't want to be. So like, it's not like people know, you know, it's not like we were public about our relationship. You know, there were by the way, my Discord, it has paired up a few people. There are possibly some weddings on the way thanks to my Discord. You know what I'm saying? So my Discord is a great place to meet really cool people, right? It's not a dating Discord. Don't join my Discord thinking you're going to date there. but it is a pretty great place. 18 plus, y'all, 18 plus. But like, it is a great place because of the topics we cover, because of the way we work really hard to humanize people. We work really hard to be appropriate. We work really hard to deconstruct. It just naturally brings out the best people. It really does. Like, it just, yeah, like I really think my community has just, I'm so grateful for the current community I have. I feel like they're so thoughtful, you know? Let me see. Brittany, could you define how a man should be raised as a community member versus how men are normally raised? Read your last video response to Dr. Kane Stevens podcast. I'm raising 2 boys and I want to do my best. Well, first of all, great question. I think we take for granted as people who are kind of raised female, or if you're treated more feminine in your family, regardless of gender, as we don't think about the nuances of our caretaking ability. We don't think of all the emotional labor we're doing because we do it so naturally. We don't even think about it. We don't think about the skill. I'll tell you a story. My brothers we were all living together in Arizona during COVID, and it was great. Like, I loved living with my little brothers. I thought it was so much fun because I love my family, right? We all grew up together. We're like a pack of puppies. Like, it was awesome. Okay. Sometimes I miss them and I'm like, oh, I miss you guys. We were there and my brother had a dog, and my brother just didn't understand how to clean up after the dog. And I couldn't understand how he couldn't understand how to clean up after a dog. Okay. Like, I couldn't process it. Like, I would watch him clean and I would sit there being like, what are you doing? Okay. Like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing? And then I realized nobody taught him because we all had different jobs in the household. Every person got assigned a different chore. He didn't understand it. Now, to be fair, I also can't use a drill or, put shelves up on the wall, and he can. Now, to be also fair, my other brother was in charge of laundry. So some of the boys did get household chores, but he didn't know how. And I had to teach him how to use paper towel or how to clean up pee from a carpet. Or I remember one time he goes, hey, my toilet's clogged and I can't figure out why. And I lifted up the toilet and I was like, well, you put paper towel in the toilet. And he was like, what's wrong with that? I was like, there are so many things you cannot flush. And so I had to teach my brother, because my parents neglected to teach their kids because they didn't think about it. Nobody thinks about it, how to do these things. I also, as a child, paid attention in the household because I was the older sister, because I was the second mom, because I was somebody who cared about taking care of people. I also shadowed my parents and followed them around. But like, that's not the case, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna understand the nuances of it until you get older and you look back, you're like, hindsight's 2020, right? Okay, hold on. Chat's distracted me. So I would pay attention to how to create like a fully formed person who had to be on their own. I would raise men the way I expect women to be raised. Women are so independent. We are just so independent. We are so independent, and we're not raising boys to be that independent, funny enough. We're raising men to get jobs and pay rent, but we're not teaching them how to be independent. That's why they need wives to do the other stuff. You know what I mean? So I think, I think that's kind of important. Does that answer your question? Can I expand on it in any way? And teaching them to be helpful as a community member, it's ways to feel like the ways to be there and be helpful. Like my partner and I were just talking about this. Like, we both know how to cook. We cook all the time. How many people don't know how to cook? Right? Like, how many people don't know how to cook food? I have friends that genuinely cannot cook anything more than like oatmeal and eggs. Genuinely. Like, you put a chicken in front of them and they're like, what do I do with this? How is this helpful, y'all? How is it helpful to raise kids who can't cook? I will say this about all of my siblings. All of us can cook. All 10 of my mother's children can cook if we have to. Some of us don't like it as much as others. I love it. But, even the ones who don't like it can still do it. And that's okay if you don't like it, but you got to know how to do it. You have to know how to learn how to cook. Learn how to buy groceries. Learn how to cook. Learn not to spend every dollar you make, right? Stuff like that. It takes time, though, because you also have to break the generational curses you were born with. So the ways in which you maybe aren't knowledgeable, you have to become knowledgeable to teach it to your kids, right? Okay. That says, do you have any tips on how to suss out guys? I'm inexperienced with dating, but I'm kind of wary. I would focus on your values. I would focus on your values. Example, have 3 questions you ask during a first date that will eliminate them from your dating pool if the answer is even slightly wrong. My favorite question: what do you think about trans kids? What if we had a trans kid? It's a perfect way to knock out 90% of useless people, because the transphobes love to talk about how they're transphobic. Okay? These mid-centrists who are like, I really support trans people, but I'd be kind of like, I'd be confused if my kid was trans. Next. Okay? Because depending on where you are in your journey, you want to ask questions that reflect that journey. I have already, like, we're pro-trans, period. No questions. We're not questioning people's transness in this household. Okay? And so you have to you have to figure out what questions to ask that people will answer. People, look, even liars are going to answer in a way that they're going to answer in the way that they think you want to hear. And that's also a red flag. I'm not interested in dating no people pleaser. Like, I'm not interested in dating a person who only wants to give me the answers I want to hear. So don't even show, you know what I mean? Like, just before you show your cards, and even then, like I said, people know so much about me on the internet. People know so much about me in my life, and I know when they can't see me. Being understood is very important. When you speak, do you feel understood? Deeply and profoundly understood. You should wait until you do. You should wait until you're having a conversation with someone in which you feel genuinely deeply understood and it's symbiotic. You both feel that way. Because sometimes it's one way and that's not your person, right? Okay, let me go back to this Hassan video and then I'll go through the comments in case I missed anything.
Even women in this community, luckily we have a pretty awesome community of adult women who can take care of themselves, but it seems like he was just sending unsolicited DMs and being creepy and pushy and a pest overall. Yeah, it's obviously completely unacceptable. I think he said that he's going to outpatient therapy now, but I don't.
That's always the new thing. I'm going to therapy. I'm working on it. Guys, therapy isn't philosophy work. Let's talk about it, okay? Guys, you guys left so many great comments. I can't catch up. So if you need to repeat comments, I'll allow it. Let me know if you have questions and I missed it. Listen, why is mental health work different than philosophical work? We do philosophy through pop culture on this channel because philosophy is your understanding and your love of wisdom, your love of knowledge. It's your understanding of your place in the universe, right? Mental health, you can have pristine mental health and shitty fucking values, let me tell you. You can have pristine mental health and still be a racist. But philosophical work forces you to deconstruct that racism and to humanize people beyond your limited understanding. Philosophical work allows you to understand your place, right? Chad says a lot of philosophers were misogynistic. No, misogynistic though, which is why you do not adhere to philosophy systems. You do not pedestal philosophers because they are just humans, right? Philosophy work isn't, it doesn't mean to say, oh, I'm a nihilist, or, oh, I love Kant, or, oh, I actually am a big Rand fan. Like, that's not philosophy. That is types of philosophy. Just because if a philosopher exists and creates a system doesn't mean you have to sign up for the system. Learn what you can from it and throw out the rest, right? Philosophy is so important. It's your values. It's your why. It's your right or wrong. It's your compass. Okay? So you have to remember that. I'm glad this guy's going to therapy. What does that have to do with his valuing women? What does that have to do with your misogyny? Therapy is your brain. Okay? Yes, it helps you understand life and contextualize your existence and how you socialize, but philosophy is your compass. Okay? Like, philosophy is your ability to say right or wrong. This is my right or wrong. And that's why I say, right? This guy, Alex, doesn't actually value women. He doesn't actually value people. He actually doesn't really care about consent, right? Okay, we see this with Destiny facing his felony. Destiny, as a cheater, never cared about consent, right? But now we know he's recording people and sharing their intimate videos. He certainly doesn't care about consent. But if you ask Destiny, does he care about consent? He'd say yes. I'm sure if you ask Alex, do you care about consent? He'd say yes. Okay? When we talk about consent in this context, when it comes to a sexual relationship, we're talking about informed consent, not implied consent, not assumed consent. We're talking about informed consent, very specifically informed, okay? And if you're not getting informed consent, I'm going to say it's not good enough, even though I radically understand that not everybody is there yet, but it's not good enough, but I want you guys to be good enough. If you do informed consent, your life will change. You'll probably interact with less people. but your life will change because you'll actually have informed, it takes a really specific person to even engage in informed consent, like in a real way. Because a lot of people talk about it, but they don't follow it up with action, right? Like you don't follow it up with action. Okay. Let me see. Did I miss anything that I want to say? Chet says, how do you find out what all your values are, and can you work on them and change them, or are you inherently determined from your own upbringing and experiences? I think values are a relationship with reality. So as you grow and hopefully become wise and deconstruct, your reality shifts and changes, and so do your values. But I want to move everybody towards, liberation and towards dignifying human life in every capacity. It's really hard, right? It's really hard to dignify human life. I know we say it's easy, we think it's easy, but most people, when they see someone doing something bad, they want that person to suffer. And of course, the end goal is to get you to a place where you no longer want to see anybody suffer, even the worst person you can think of. But it's okay that you're having that experience, but know that this isn't the end. Know that there is a place you can get to where you genuinely, with compassion and love, see where humanity is at and still hold it accountable. You can still hold bad people accountable and not want them to suffer. And I know that sounds crazy because that's not what typical society teaches you, but I'm telling you, it is real. It is a real experience, and I want everyone to get there. My life is better because of it. My life is better now that I don't hate people and I don't want people to suffer, and now that I just want justice to be served. It comes in a form of compassion. It comes in a form of real redemption. Now, some people do heinous crimes so abhorrent that their form of redemption and accountability includes being locked up, but not locked up in the prison system as we know it today, but maybe locked up in a situation in which they are contributing back to society, but away from it enough that they can't harm it again, right? Chad said, Britt, have you seen Vinland Saga? It's very this coded. I'm just starting season 2. So very excited about that. I'm just starting season 2. Chad says, is there any way to condense philosophy values class to benefit ignorant people? I ask sometimes as a longtime viewer struggle with compiling things and simplifying for parenting. Yeah, it's difficult because it's like, where do you start? Like, I always recommend Sophie's World for parents. I read that book when I was a young teenager. And there are ways to read books that I think like get you started on philosophy. Because I think, again, a lot of these philosophers were misogynistic white men. So, okay. But we can learn from their ideas because they were right about some things, just wrong about others. And we can still hold them accountable, but learn. So like read Sophie's World. That's a really great place to start. I can also try to work on streams in which we kind of do the basics. The problem is, unless I have direct questions from people, I don't know what to do. I'm not a philosophy teacher, right? Like I like philosophy, but I'm not actually a teacher. So maybe, I could try to do a Q&A where we talk about this, but the truth is like those events don't usually work out the way we hope to, because like you'd have to have the right people there to ask the questions. So it's kind of difficult. Discord said, do you think people romanticize suffering? Also, how did you go about the process of releasing the feelings of wanting to see someone be punished? Yes, people romanticize suffering. It's just so a part of us as people, right? It's just so in our nature. I've been there, done that, right? We romanticize ourselves. We make ourselves the main character. We think our suffering is the most suffering and no one suffers the way I suffer. We also do experience suffering. Every single person on this planet will suffer. The question is can we wisely suffer? And that's kind of the goal. And then how did I go about the process of releasing the feelings of wanting to see someone be punished? Well, this coincides with the question I got asked in chat earlier about values. When I sat down to form my values and I wrote them down, I realized I didn't value punishing people. I didn't value hurting people. I never had. I always felt like anytime I had hurt somebody, it was out of like defense. But ultimately, like, I don't like it. I avoid it at all costs. I'm not interested in doing it. I'm not known for it. I certainly do not have the reputation in my community as being like a vengeful person. Okay. I have the reputation in my community as being very like justice-y, So I think it was hard at first because I was so angry at the world. I was so angry at these horrible, horrible people in the world. And I just thought like something bad should happen to you. And I used to think, because I internalized misogyny, I used to think in order to be a tough adult, I would have to be able to want to see them tortured in order to do the right thing by culture. Because I was raised in America that taught us that torturing people in order to get answers out of them was good. And so I had to deconstruct all of that. Is it good? Do we even get the answers we want? Is this reasonable? Would I want this happening to me? Could I do this to somebody else? And over time, I realized like, no, I don't want to do these things. And I actually think this coincides with even my relationship into plant-based eating right now. Like, unless I'm willing to kill the animal myself, I'm not allowed to eat it, right? It's not just a rule I put in. It's a part of that philosophical deconstruction. Why was I so eager to eat a living creature that I got nauseous, at the idea of killing them? And I had helped my brother slaughter animals on his farm. I had been engaging with the behavior, but I realized it made me sick. I realized I hated it. And I think if you actually see the creature as a living being, you would also struggle to do it, generally speaking. Not always, not for all people, not at all times in their journey. But I think for Brittany, I had just really been on it. I had to be honest with myself. We are not honest with ourselves. We lie to ourselves constantly. I'm tougher than I am. I'm sadder than I am. I'm angrier than I am. I'm moral more than I think I'm less moral than I think I am. We lie to ourselves. And when I was really, really, really honest with myself, I was able to say, I actually don't want to do this. Yeah, I don't want to cause this amount of pain on people. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to harm reduce, to not engage in this behavior. And my life has been better ever since. I'm not saying you have to do this, just if you're new to my audience. I'm not making a prescription. I'm just saying what I think helps people move further into liberation and further away from bigotry is humanizing every living creature. Every rock and tree and creature has a life, has spirit, has a name, and really embodying that reality. So you never get the desire to send a DM to a girl on the internet and be gross, because remember, like, the way we flirt is taught to us by culture. I remember when I was first coming out as a lesbian or a gay person, I'm pansexual, but when I was first coming out, I thought I had to objectify women the way men did in order to prove I was attracted to women. Tell me how many of you have had this experience. And I'd be like, this is so gross, but I would talk to other boys, like I was like 21, and I'd be like, so did you have sex with her? Did you fuck her? And I'm like, why did I say that? I don't even care. I don't even care. And I was a virgin. Okay. I was literally a virgin. I was like, why did I even say that? And it was because I wanted to be seen as valid in my attraction to women. It was so stupid, but I had let misogynistic bubbles raise me, and I had internalized them as what it meant to really prove attraction. And now I know that's not true. Now I know that's not true, that I don't have to objectify women to prove I'm attracted to them. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have to, objectifying women isn't even about attraction. It's about self-gratification. It's about entitlement. Being attracted to people has nothing to, it's separate from your entitlement to their bodies. And the thing is, we associate that together, which is why you'll hear men say, after my wife has a baby, she better get back to her original body in 3 months. Because you're not actually talking to a person. You're not even talking about a person. You're talking about a fantasy of a person. And it's objectifying, And they do that because a lot of people date people that they think their friends will find attractive, not that they necessarily find attractive. All right, back to this Hasan video.
I don't know the extent of what's going on, like I said, but I hope everyone is all right. Anyway, but outside of that, I don't know what else needs to be said. I assume that people will. I assume that people will try to make try to tie this back to myself somehow and actually turn it into drama when this is not drama. This is serious shit. But I'm going to obviously continue talking about the news. And you should also lock in as well. Don't eat the bait. I think a lot of people also don't understand that things that other communities try to elevate and in a specific direction when they're serious allegations, serious accusations. But when people try to take serious allegations and accusations and turn them into content for themselves, right? That's only as that can only turn into drama or content for clicks if you allow it. Like we have the power and capacity to turn certain serious subjects into, I guess, like content or drama or anything like that.
Okay, first of all, what is happening there? Ignore that. So I want to say this because I did see a lot of men covering this topic, and I don't love the way the boys are covering it because they seem to be like, Alex Lolo, allegations again. It's like, why are you doing that? I think women are talking about it because, and femme people and queer people are maybe talking about it because we're like, hey, new predator on the scene. Everybody get ready. It's kind of like the T app, but better because the T app is trash. I have so much to say about that podcast on my second channel. Links in the description. It will be out later today. I think there is a good reason why a lot of people are like, hey, new predator on the scene, new predator on the scene. Because it's serious, okay? Now, Chad said in regards to teaching boys consent, young boys, going off the question you guys asked me earlier, I love it. You said hugging, letting kids choose when they can hug. My nieces and nephews, I let them decide. I don't force them to hug or kiss me or anything like that. Like, you know, Auntie Brittany wants a hug. Are you in the mood for hugs? You know, that type of thing. And yes or no. Like, I value their consent. I remember one time I was at the dinner table with my mom and sister, and my nephew was like, Auntie Brittany, Auntie Brittany, Auntie Brittany, Auntie Brittany. And I said, Auntie Brittany will answer your question, but I've already answered like a lot of them. And Auntie Brittany is getting overstimulated. So I need about 10 minutes to decompress, and then I will answer your question. And he said, okay. And I said, this is the clock. Go look at the clock. Come back in 10 minutes. And my mom goes, I don't know why you didn't just answer his question. I said, because I am not going to raise or participate in raising a man who feels entitled to my time, because it starts young. Okay? It literally starts young. And I'm not going to do that. And he doesn't mind. I explained to him the rules. He understands it. I'm not rejecting him. I'm instead putting down a boundary. He came back 10 minutes later. I was rejuvenated. I answered his questions. Because this boy got a lot of questions. Okay, this boy don't stop with his questions. So it's the audacity of being like, I don't know how my sons were raised thinking they were entitled to things when you as a parent never told them, you can wait a second. I love you. Give me 10 minutes, but explain it to them. Explain it to them. Use compassion. I love you. Don't ignore your kids. Look, don't have kids if you think kids are meant to be seen and not heard. Do not have kids if you use, corporal punishment. Do not have kids if you think that they owe you, gratitude because you brought them into the universe. Do not have kids out of a selfish entitlement of, pursuing a legacy or raising a mini you. These are horrible reasons to have a kid. If you're going to have a baby, make a baby through love, whether the relationship with yourself or others, okay, to be a part of a village in which that child is really seen as a human being and really loved as a consciousness and really raised right? Okay, one last video I want to show you of Alex and Hassan doing a collaboration like 7 months ago. They're taking the autism test together.
Fuck! I feel very comfortable with dating or being in social situations with others. True only now. I try to be as helpful as I can when other people tell me their personal problems. Yeah, I try to be, I have been told that I have an unusual voice. No one's ever told me that. Do I have an unusual?
See how he answers the questions, right? He's asking this question, or he's answering this question about himself. The same guy who's so obnoxiously sliding into DMs and being such a little sex pest, you know what I'm saying? So being so inappropriate is also the same guy that's like, yeah, I'm comfortable. I listen to people's problems. I'm considerate. Girl, that's it. That's all I want to show you there. Now, okay, we don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so we've actually talked about this before, right? We've talked about this liberal man issue before. Fun fact, because Brioni, how do you say her name, girls? How do you say this lovely human's name? I love this video. Look, I even liked it, so I'm a fan. I just don't know how to say her name right now. Okay, love her. She made a video. I'm going to link it in the chat. Okay. Fake feminist men, wolves in sheep clothing. We actually reviewed this video August 7th, 2024. Here is the video where I was originally reacting. Here's me. Okay, hold on here. Oh, that's funny. Okay, hold on. I'm going to move me. Okay, I'm here in the right corner, and then there's younger Brittany in the left corner. Listen to this.
your life, your guard is definitely up when you're dealing with them, right? It's the sneaky monsters that I'm most afraid of. They fit in amongst the sheep. They learn all of the right things to say. They learn.
This is what we're always worried of. All of us are worried that we're going to misjudge somebody, right? Because look, as a woman, I don't want to misjudge a man just because he's a man and think he's abusive. But then it's like, how are we going to judge people? And I can't hold people to the standard I live my own life because my morals are for me. They're not for you. And most of you wouldn't qualify, no offense. But like, let's be real. A lot of these men out here would not qualify for my standard. Okay, so like, but it's not even that high of a standard. Don't even get me started with how low of a standard I feel like I have for people. And they're like, it's too high. And I'm like, okay. Oh my God. Anyways, so this is the fear we have. Is, are we misjudging somebody? Is somebody tricking us? But then you don't want to be paranoid and assume everyone is out here to get you, because like nobody wants to be Jordan Peterson, you know? Nobody wants to be J.K. Rowling. Nobody wants to be that paranoid. So it's like, how do you make sure you're not paranoid? I go by the data, and I accept that humans are deeply flawed. They're deeply flawed. But this is why, and she said it earlier, what happens if you stay friends with a bad person? I don't mind being friends with a bad person as long as I can tell people you're bad. If you expect me to be your friend and tell people you're good because you're my friend, oh, no. No. I love you. No. I have no problems being friendly with somebody who's in recovery, who's on a journey to be a better person, because I don't think you're always a bad person. I think one day you might actually try to be a good person. And I would love to help, you know, cheer you on in the process. I mean, you got to do the work. But I got to be able to tell people like, oh, don't mess with them. They're on a journey. But if you expect me, if you're like, oh, but if you're my friend, you'll always root for me. I will always root for you to do better. But I will never lie to people about your bad behavior. Like Biza says, I'm not covering for anyone. I'm not covering for you. I'm not going to cover up for you. I'm not going to tell people you're good if you're not. But also, I believe in your ability to be a better person. So I'm not going to end our friendship just because you're a bad person. But I might have some boundaries because, again, I'm open but with boundaries. I'm open but with boundaries, as my shirt says. Okay. Present day Brittany here, if you're just listening to the live stream. Okay, so we had reviewed this idea. We had talked about it. And I think like people on the internet were talking about it because I said, beware of these liberal men. And, you know, it is referencing like the Destinies and the Voshes. And even chat says Film Cooper. They used to watch Film Cooper, but then he started making misogynistic jokes and justifying it because it was about white women. I don't know. I haven't seen the clip, but remember when I first reviewed Film Cooper and I said, and everyone was like, Brittany, no. And I was like, sorry. It just, you know, he's got a look, he's got a thing, and I hope it's not true. But I wouldn't be surprised because men raised under patriarchy who are not deconstructing, it's really easy to get on the internet. Okay. And just thank you, future May Queen, for gifting a membership. Appreciate you. It's really easy to get on the internet. Okay. And be like, oh, actually, wait, I just reviewed this BoJack Horseman episode for members. If you guys are YouTube members, I just reviewed this BoJack Horseman video where BoJack Horseman is on this like View-like talk show. And he's like trying to defend his co-star. But they're like, do you know your co-star like choked his wife out? And he's like, oh, well, I don't think he should have done that. And the audience is like, woo! And he's like, yeah, we shouldn't choke our partners. And everyone's like, woo! And then he becomes like feminist BoJack. Like the bar is in hell so low that a man just has to get on the internet and be like, rape is bad. And everyone's like, what? Like everyone, even women, we're like, my pussy's so wet. Like that's very transphobic because not all people have vaginas, but you know what I mean? Like everybody gets on the internet. Men do the absolute lowest fucking thing. And everyone's like, I'm over it, girls. Okay, I'm tired. The bar is in hell and I'm sick of it being there. The bar is in hell and I am so fucking sick of it being there. Okay? I'm sick of it being there. Chat says, or Discord said, excuse me, where did that Ethan come from? Honestly, does anyone remember? Ethan! Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, listen. Listen to me, Ethan. You are my sunshine. My only sunshine. These Machiavellian mothers. So pray away the gay. You'll never know, dear, how transphobic I am until I am in J.K. Rowling's grave. Just kidding. I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was. Don't hold me accountable, okay? I am now a man. You cannot hold me accountable today. Thank you. Okay, now let's do this together. Let's do this together. Okay, now. Chet says I like Philip Cooper, but he's a baby feminist who has a lot of learning and deconstruction to do, so he tries. But for sure, lots of benevolent. Oh my God. Misogyny, the bar is in fact in hell. And that's the thing. I don't want the film Coopers to feel disadvantaged. Or I saw a comment on my chat today on my video from yesterday that said, if I'm already going to be called a misogynist for just being a man, I might as well live up to the title. Yeah, you're useless. You're lacking introspection. That's useless behavior. Well, if you're going to say I'm racist, I might as well be. Well, if you're going to call me a fascist, I guess that's what I am. Yeah, you're stupid. With peace and love. You're so fucking dumb. You're so fucking dumb. So I will treat you like you're dumb. Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid. That's so stupid. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have time for those people. Because, like, look, I got 70 good years on earth and then I'm going to die. There are billions and billions of people that are making the effort. And those are the only people I'm working on. Okay? Everybody else can work on everybody else, but I'm not interested. So stupid. Okay? Now. Okay. Alex Lolo made an apology that he then deleted. Let's read it together. I apologize in advance for my dyslexia. Okay. This is screenshotted from Twitter because he deleted it. This is LOL overruled. That is his official account. He said, this is not my full apology, and it isn't meant to be. I still need some time to figure out how much to do. I see it happens already, ladies. I still need some time to figure out how to do that and what that looks like. There's a lot being said about my behavior. I am absolutely embarrassed and ashamed of myself in many instances and have been a real asshole. P.S. I just want to remind you this person's partnered. Who is dating this man? How embarrassed are you? How mortified would you be if your man was sliding into girls' DMs this way? How mortified would you be? That's what I'm saying. I have dated losers. Okay, but that is far behind me now. Okay, girls? But this is why my standard is so high, because I'm like, ain't no way I'm about to catch my person in DMs looking stupid. Not that it has anything to do with me, because at the end of the day, that's their decision. You are not responsible for your shitty partner's behavior. But also, if you stay, okay. Okay, so he's embarrassed and ashamed, and I've been a real asshole. I don't deny that at all. I know many people are disappointed, and I am disappointed in myself. I have hurt people emotionally, and I regret it immensely. I do want to clarify some things. He said, yes, I have slid into a lot of people's DMs. I think I didn't really think of it as a huge deal, but it's clear I did not fully grasp how people could feel about that, or even think I was some kind of famous person, which I have never honestly felt about myself and always felt like a random internet character. Yes, all content creators feel that way about themselves. I need you to know that. Unless you're incredibly fucking egotistical, most of us just think of ourselves as kind of normal. Does that make you less responsible for how you slide into people's DMs? Oh, as a celebrity and a public figure, I have more of a responsibility. You have the same amount of responsibility if you were a regular person. Sir? Like, what do you mean? Are you saying a regular person could slide into DMs this way and it's perfectly fine? Because it's not. You know? Okay. No, I did not send photos unsolicited. It may have been in the case in some instances that I genuinely misread the conversation we were having, but no, I didn't randomly just send something. So he's already getting defensive. Instead of just like taking a second because the internet can wait before saying something. Okay. Let's go back to my paint. Okay. Let's go back to my paint. We want informed consent. So back in the day, unsolicited dick pics, no consent needed. Consent is, hey, do you want to see my dick? And informed consent is, hi, would you like to see, hi, have we escalated to the point of intimacy in which we would like to exchange pictures of our bodies? Is that something you're comfortable with? You can say no. I just wanted to know where we're at because I want to make sure before we start doing those things. Okay. Yes. Chat said I only know him from Hassan collabs. I don't even know who this guy is. He almost has 1 million followers on TikTok. He's a TikTok guy. He doesn't have a YouTube presence. He only does YouTube collabs with content creators. And look, Hassan ultimately only collabed with him because he had an audience, right? I think somebody told me Hassan has a rule about not collabing with people unless they have like a bigger following or something, because he's worried about like clout sharks, which is ironic because as if big people can't be clout sharks. Like, that's the funny part. You think you think the Alex guy isn't clout fucking sharking on Hassan's stream? You know what I mean? But he's a TikToker. Okay. So again, he didn't have informed consent for the dick pics, but that's the problem. You know how many guys had just sent dick pics? Do you know even on my OnlyFans, people will send me dick pics and I block them? And I'm sure they're deeply confused about it, but like, I didn't consent to this. Don't send me your dick pic. Because I don't run that kind of OnlyFans. Some people run OnlyFanses where they're like, hey, I'm thinking about you. They're sending like, randomized or not randomized, but like messages to the whole group of followers. Like, hey, want to come together? Like blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I'm a nude artist. I post nude work. You consume. We do not engage. I am not interested in you. Okay. I do not post to have a relationship with you. And that's the problem, is so people will join and send me their dick. And I'm like, and then, you know what I mean? So if you just heads up, I will block you. Like, I don't want to see that. Okay. I don't want to see that. Thank you. Chat, I'm going to block. No, I'm going to invite you to change your mind on your black and white stances about things that have been debunked time and time again. If you really want to know what's going on, do you keep yourself updated? Okay, so if you're going to put Hassan hate in my chat, which is fine, you can hate Hassan for good reasons. But if you hate him for bad reasons, I do get annoyed. If you're going to dislike somebody, find a good reason. Don't make up a reason. All the things you're saying in my chat about Hassan have been debunked 1,000 times. I'm bored. Okay, so if you think you're a smart person, which I'm sure you do, figure it out. Because you're looking pretty stupid right now. Okay, thank you, chat. Okay, now, back to Alex's apology that is now rescinded off the internet, okay? Okay, no, I didn't just randomly send something. Okay, no, I have not threatened anyone. I saw something to the effect of that being said. I do believe some of what's being said is genuinely libel and defamation. He's a lawyer, so he's already threatening people with the law, right? Right? Chad says, how did he get a following as a public defender? I thought it was through Hassan. I always thought it was through TikTok. I knew about Alex before I knew Alex and Hassan had collabed. I don't think so. I don't know. I knew Alex because I blocked him before I knew him and Hassan collabed. There's no way. He might have like gotten more popular in some way, but I think he already had an audience. You know, because Hassan isn't like a career maker like that. I don't know Hassan to be like a career maker for sure, like for real. Right? Like just collabing with Hassan is not enough. You have to do the work. So I feel like he did. There's no way Hassan's the reason he has almost 1 million followers, you know? Okay, Alex's apology keeps going. And he's already threatening people with the law. I am not, however, interested in arguing with people or suing or anything like that. Oh, then why'd you bring it up? It's also entirely possible there were miscommunications and conversations misread, but I take full responsibility for making people uncomfortable. Do you? Do you? Because you're already dropping like lawyer talk. Again, this is not meant to be This is not meant to be an exhaustive apology. It really isn't. I'm so sorry to the people I've made uncomfortable or hurt emotionally. I know it doesn't matter to some of you now, but I'm glad this stuff is being talked about in a way. Oh, please. It is forcing me to actually look at myself hard in the mirror and do something about it. I am going to be pretty offline for a bit / doing intensive outpatient program. He's a snake boy. A snake boy. A snake. A snake, bro. He's a snake. He's a snake. This is exactly verbatim what snakes do when they get caught in Hollywood. This is literally the script. He took this script from all the shitty Hollywood celebrities. This is literally marketing 101. This is such bullshit. I can't believe. Now, do you see it? Okay. Does anyone here not get it? Because that's the person I want to help. What about Alex makes you sympathetic? What about Alex makes you want to give him a chance? And I will burst that bubble for you, right? Because I don't want you to fall for this bullshit. Okay? All right? Yeah, literally Andrew Callahan. Yeah, PS, like, I know people still watch Andrew Callahan, and sometimes I'll check out a video, but I genuinely, like, get so icked out when I, remember. Sometimes I watch his videos for the thing he's covering, but not for him. Yeah. Like, I know y'all, like, love these men, but that's the thing, is, like, a lot of them have allegations for a reason. Okay? Crazy. He says, I don't know what will happen next. I may never come back to the internet in the same capacity again. I don't know. Oh my goodness. I want to do better, and I genuinely want to make amends to the people I've negatively impacted. I hope some people will give me the opportunity to do that. I do not expect it at all, but I'm always available to listen and talk if anyone wants that. Bro. Literally, Chess is making himself the victim. Literally, he is painting this like he's the victim. Great. That's what I'm saying. He's not having an embodied experience. He's not embodying. This isn't a part of his morality. He's 34 years old, and he is now having a realization that he shouldn't be a pig in people's DMs. What? 34 years old, and you're now just figuring it out, girl? Okay, this reads like a marketing firm got a hold of this apology, okay? Okay, so I'll talk. Okay. I don't want to be a piece of shit guy. Too late. I have been. No, you are. Pause. You are a piece of shit man. It wasn't, oh girl. I don't want to be a piece of shit guy. I have been. I think the way I have acted has not been in line with my character. No. You currently are. You do not get to be like, oh, that was me yesterday, but to me today, you are currently a piece of shit man. Okay. He says, the way I have acted has not been in line with my character and does not reflect the kind of man I want to be. I am seeking help to better myself. I am sorry it took so long. Accountability is a weird thing. You can really only take accountability for yourself. If you want to pretend something isn't a problem, you can try. Oh my God, what is this? You can try and weather the storm that comes and pretend it isn't real. I don't want to be that way. In the very least, I would like to show what accountability can look like. Really cannot express how sorry I am to you all. Okay, so let's talk about accountability. How would somebody in his position actually seek out accountability? Okay, how would we even do that? Okay. Chat says, great question. Chat says, I actually have trouble differentiating between honesty, embodied experience, and just the display of honesty. Could you show or tell me examples of what he could have said if he was honest? Okay, so let's brainstorm. What could he have done if he understood what he had done? First, I think he would have remained silent instead of trying to save his reputation. And then when he did say something, he would have said it without trying to save his reputation. I would have allowed the internet, but you see, okay, first of all, he can't actually understand that he's done something wrong because he hasn't done the deconstruction. So it's hard because you can't know you've done something. Okay, guys, hold on. Okay, this is really hard to understand. You can't stab somebody and then people are like, hey, that's bad. And you're like, oh, that is bad. Let me make an apology statement. Nothing he could say in the moment matters because he's still the same person who got caught. So his best thing to do is disappear. Because the only thing he can do is make sure nobody has to deal with him ever again. Because he's still that person. So he needs to get off the internet, not talk to anybody, and certainly he can try apologizing in private, but he probably shouldn't bother people, okay? No, Chet says, I think for his own sake, he should say nothing. No, for his own sake, no, not for his own sake. What do you mean? No, for his, well, okay, yeah, for his own sake, for his own reputation, don't say anything because, you know, this will blow over and nobody will remember it. But if he's really trying to actually hold himself accountable, right, then he should realize how much he's impacted the bubble, the community, right? He should understand that he now has to step down from his position of, quote, being looked up to. He has to take accountability by making sure people do not look up to him, right? He needs to make sure that he understands this, but it's not just by doing the things, it's by actually never doing it again, by realizing he's done something terribly wrong. He's not going to figure it out overnight. He can't, right? Chad says, so there is no way to come back after what come back is what you think. Like these mistakes mean you are garbage for life. Is there no way to make a career after? Okay, first of all, he'll always have a career. It's not like lawyers are the most upstanding people, y'all. Okay. Second, there's a difference between can a bad person have a career and should he have a career in a good society? Well, in a good society, he would take the time to recover and really learn himself by getting a job that doesn't put him in a position to hurt other people, right? So he wouldn't have the internet. He wouldn't be DMing people. He wouldn't have access to hurting the community. But he needs to make money. He needs to put a roof over his head. So he does need to work. But he needs to not be able to or engage with, not through legality, but through ethics. We're not talking about the legal system, right? We need to give him the opportunity as a community to make enough money, but it doesn't have to be through social media. I mean, you're a lawyer. Go be a lawyer and get out of people's DMs. Okay? And that's the thing is like, I'm not saying he shouldn't have a career because a career doesn't mean anything. It just means you have, like, he has to make money to feed himself. Would you rather pay his rent? Here's the question. Would you rather him be unhoused, which I think is deeply unethical? Would you rather the government pay his bill so he doesn't have to work a job? Or would you rather he fucking work in a career in which he is not going to victimize people so he can actually get something done, okay, while he's in recovery? Because, like, we're a society. We can't just take people and house all of them when there's so many people who need housing who haven't done any of these things. We need to house people. But we can't give all of our resources to shitty boys on the internet who DM women, where they need to go work in a job that doesn't put them in proximity to victims, and they need to get better, right? So no leadership positions. I agree, chat. Nothing that gives him power over other people in a large capacity. He could still be a lawyer, not necessarily have that power. He needs to take accountability. The thing is like, we're not set up in that culture, but I don't think the law, right? I don't really care about the law. This is a philosophy channel. We care about ethics, right? Chet said, like, you think he couldn't heal and then regain access to being able to be in those situations again and not be dangerous? It doesn't matter. If he realizes what he's done, him coming back isn't understanding what he's done. Because he hasn't moved on. Do something else. There are thousands of other things you could do other than be a social media person. There are thousands of other jobs you could have other than being a TikToker. There are so many other ways to pay back to society and be a good person other than trying to come back and be a celebrity. Right? If he understands, he was 34 when he did this. When is he going to come back? When he's 70? When's he going to come back? When he's 45? You know what I mean? Like, he needs to realize he needs to do something else. Now, I will say that I could see him coming back in 20 years and 30 years, but it would have to be after years of recovery. You know? Chaz says she's saying he should be fired from his job, essentially. Well, I'm saying he has a job. He's a lawyer. His job is being a lawyer. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a lawyer. I'm saying he shouldn't be a public figure that people look up to. He shouldn't be in a position of power where people pedestal him. So, right. His job is not TikTok. His job is a lawyer. He's a lawyer. Right? I'm not saying he should be fired from that job. I'm saying he should be fired, but like not banned from TikTok or something like that, because I think that that's a legality thing I don't know anything about. But if he really embodies an understanding, he shouldn't want to come back. Right? He shouldn't want to come back. The fact that he wants to come back is a part of the problem. Why do you want to come back when you've done something so egregious? Do you know what I mean? Why do you want to come back if you understand what you've done? If you really have understood what you've done, why are you coming back? You know? And I think that's the problem. Right? Chat says culturally we are pushed to forgive someone when the wound is still bleeding and stabbing just happened. Yeah. I think or you said culturally, why are we pushed to forgive someone? Honestly, and I think this coincides with today's podcast, mob rule is dangerous. Mob justice is bad, guys. It's deeply unethical. Mob justice is torches and pitchforks. We have to calm people down from being crazy. So we go, forgive, forgive, forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you become vengeful, and then you become rioters, and then you kill people who are innocent. This is the witch hunt, right? Activism as a form of justice is different. It's seeking justice, right? So I think people want to encourage people to forgive, forgive, forgive because they're afraid of escalation. They're afraid that like, oh, you're too angry and you're going to act on that anger. I want nothing bad to happen to Alex. I want only for his ability to be accountable, encouraged, right? So I think that's why we do it. I think it's genuinely to calm people down. Because like people get angry, and when they're angry, innocent people get hurt, you know? Discord said, isn't that you putting a prescription on what healing looks like? Like, could a healed person would want to come back? Just curious. I like breaking it down in fundamentals. Okay. Prescriptions are things you say people ought to do. I'm not saying he ought to, okay. I'm not saying he ought to not come back if he understands what he's done. I'm saying in order for me to believe he understands what he's done, he won't come back. Do we see the difference? These are different things. One is saying that I'm saying him specifically, what he's done specifically, not other people who've done other things. Alex specifically with his specific case. He should not come back. Not other people, just him, because of what he did individually. Okay? Why is he on social media? Right? So why is he on social media? What's the point of being there? Probably to promote his business, probably to become a figure, maybe to be a public figure so he can have status, maybe to clout shark, maybe so he can slide into women's DMs and fuck them. What is his reason for being there? And if it isn't a need, then he won't want to come back to it, because the reason he was probably there wasn't probably for a good reason. So if he wasn't on social media for a good reason to begin with, probably to fuck women, then if he is healed and he understands what he's done, he wouldn't be back on the internet because he wouldn't be there to fuck women. Right? That's how I think about it. Like, why is he on the internet? Like, obviously, some people aren't on the internet to fuck women. Like, not everyone is using their position of power to fuck people. So them coming back is much more reasonable because they're not coming back to fuck people, right? Discord said, I get it. So if he was on the internet to be an artist, like maybe it'd be different. He wouldn't. Okay. No. He doesn't need to be here. He can sell his art without needing to be here. He doesn't have to be the main character. He doesn't have to be the person you follow. He can run a business. He can have a third party. He can take away his name from rising in clout. He can take away his power, right? He doesn't need to be here. If he needs to make money, he can do it under a pseudonym. But he wants the clout. He wants it to be his name. He wants it to be his face. He doesn't need to do that, right? It's not that he shouldn't be on the internet. It's he shouldn't be him on the internet. So he can use the internet as a tool to make money under capitalism, but he doesn't get the credit for it. He doesn't get to come back. You know? Chat said, Chat said he can pivot into into alpha male content. Stop. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Chat said again, I think the question I would ask, especially in this moment, right? When it went public, why does he need to come back? And for whom is that valuable? Exactly. For whom is it valuable that he comes back to the space other than for himself? Like, we don't need him here, girl. He already fucked it up. We thought we needed him here, but obviously not. Bye. Somebody better will replace you. Somebody smarter, better, and more ethical can replace you now. You fucked up. And you should really deeply understand that. At 34 years old, you're still a fucking loser on the internet. We don't need you. We don't need you. We could have needed you had you been a better person. You could have really been somebody in the community had you been a good person in the community, but you are a fucking cesspool on the community. You ruined it, right? You could have had something. You could have had something. Chat says, would hiding under a pseudonym give him the chance to do the same thing without people knowing it's him? Is it important for people to know who they are consuming, giving money to? Okay, I'm going to autistically answer this. Him, Alex, is lawyer on internet, make movie reviews on his side channel / lawyer views on his main channel. We already know his voice. We already know the way he speaks. He could never come back on the internet unless we let him. Same with Cody Ko. Cody Ko is back on the internet because people let him. Not legally, but like, Cody Ko would never have been able, like, if I made a second channel and my voice got popular, you guys would know it was me. I couldn't disguise my voice, but if I did do that and I tricked people into it, it is what it is. We can't hold anonymous people accountable, right? He's still wrong. He shouldn't do it, right? He shouldn't trick people. But if he came back onto the internet to do something else, you got to make money. He has to have a job. And the internet is the way a lot of people work. So he could find a job that doesn't require it. But if he's still tricking people, then he's still a bad person. And if he's still a bad person, like, it is what it is. And look, the audience is accountable. You guys are accountable and responsible for who you give your money to. You can be tricked and duped, but so many people aren't, which is why Cody Ko gets to exist, because people don't care. Tana, look how bad of a person Tana's been her whole life. Look at Trisha and all these people. Everybody loves a redemption arc. They don't care. Because at the end of the day, none of these people had to do any real accountability for them to be loved again. None of these people actually understand what they did was wrong. They don't. Ethan never actually knew why he was wrong with anything. That's why he is the person he is today. He never understood it. That's why he's where he is right now. Because it was never really an embodied, good example. Ethan, if he really embodied an understanding of progressive philosophy and politics, he would never do what he's doing right now. He would never, ever do what he's doing right now. But he doesn't have it. Okay? Right? That's the problem. Ethan, I really missed that vape. Put it in my mouth, Ethan. Okay? Chat said canceling only works if the original audience is against the person. Canceling doesn't work, period. Right? A rapist is in the White House. Like, ultimately, cancel culture doesn't work. It's only meant to deviate us into different bubbles. I'll give you an example. Let's bring out my paint. You know what canceling does, girls? It makes it clear what bubble you're in, okay? So here's all the different bubbles, right? Okay. And the bubbles exist. Actually, those are too big. Let me make them smaller. Okay. We all exist in bubbles, right? Nope. And sometimes our bubbles overlap, right? Sometimes the bubbles overlap and they all have, okay, right? Like, we get it. The bubbles overlap sometimes. Okay. Ethan's in this bubble and we were there for a while and it was fun. We're like, oh my God, this is so fun. Ooh, Ethan's making kind of weird jokes and Ethan's kind of making like, hey, did he rape you comments, like almost like he wants people to be assaulted, which is really weird. And Ethan's being so strange. I'm going to hop out of his bubble and go here. And I'm going to go here. And all these people are leaving Ethan's bubble. And Ethan's like, hey, why are you leaving my bubble? Why aren't you staying in my bubble? I know why. It must be because these people over here are convincing all of these people not to like me anymore, instead of realizing that he is the reason we're all leaving. Not everybody is going to leave Ethan. He has a really strong following, right? So that's not the problem. The problem is that Ethan is just the loudest speaker for people who are exactly like him. And he doesn't want to engage in the realization that he is the kind of person that the worst people on the internet would defend. But what this gives us as a community an opportunity to do is just, oh, okay, well, Ethan's a piece of shit. Let's find somebody else who's not a piece of shit. Maybe these people over here. It allows us, okay, to gravitate towards people who encompass our beliefs, you know? And that's what we're aiming for. Look at this thing that's happening with Jubilee right now, right? That shouldn't exist. Why does it exist? I'm not saying it shouldn't exist legally. I'm saying ethically, why are we debating fascists? You know what I mean? Chat says, Brittany, what would ABBA have to do to build back the bridge? LOL. That's the other thing. A mistake we make is going back to the past. It's done. It happened. Learn a lesson and move on. Building the bridge back is not the answer. Building healthier bubbles is. Maybe ABBA goes on to be one of the greatest progressive voices that have ever existed. And I don't just mean like philosophically, maybe he becomes the greatest non-misogynist I've ever seen. That doesn't mean I have to ever hang out with him or talk to him again, because it was never about that. It was about being better to each other, not about being friends. It was never about being friends. It's never about being friends. I already have friends. It's about having a healthy community. Why do conservatives hate the idea of community effort over the individual? Because they know they're pieces of shit and they don't want to be in a community with other pieces of shit. But the truth is, we're all pieces of shit. And it takes a lot of work on the individual's part to even form a healthy village with a bunch of people. You know your family sucks. And you know your brothers suck. And you know your family sucks. Maybe some of them don't suck, or maybe you don't want to admit it. But we have way too many generational curses for any of us to have been born in perfect bubbles. So we have to make the effort. And then we have to put down boundaries. And then we have to individually decide who we're going to do emotional labor for. Okay? I do it for my family. I do it for my inner circle. Sometimes I do it for my audience. But I do believe the world can be better. It's just not going to be better tomorrow. It's going to be better in 500 years from now and 1,000 years from now. And it's going to be because of people alive today. Even if nobody remembers us, our impact on the world will exist. And that's all I care about. I do not expect the world to be better tomorrow. But I certainly know it will, in fact, be better 500 years from now, because it's better now than it was 500 years ago. So canceling just brings to surface the mold in your soup. Dig it out and toss it out. But understand, more mold will float to the top. Dig it out, scoop it out. It's not going to stop, though, because that's not how life works. Or you can think of it as dust on the top of the TV. Okay, wipe off the dust, but know that it will come back. Because you can't have existence and no dust. But maybe you can mitigate the dust somehow. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think this is just like the overall issue with these kinds of conversations, is that we really expect the world to be different than it is while calling out what it is. Listen, the world is literally misogynistic and racist, yes? So why are we expecting people not to be racist? I saw a TikTok from a Black content creator. I don't remember their name, but they said, why is it like a rite of passage for white people to tweet the N-word? And I made a joke to my partner, and I was like, and this is how you know I'm not white. This is that's a joke because I'm Assyrian, right? I am obviously white, but I'm Assyrian. And the joke is like, this is not my passage. This is not my bubble. I didn't grow up with Confederate flags and like Nazi stuff. I didn't grow up with like, tweeting the N-word. Like, you know not to tweet the N-word because you're not even allowed to say it at home. You're not allowed to say that word. You can't say words. Like, There are words you just don't say growing up in some conservative homes, but like I didn't grow up in that kind of conservative home. I grew up in the other kind. We're like, no, but also it's going to happen to somebody. And like, that's the thing is like, that is sort of so many people's history that even I'm shocked. Even I'm like, how do you guys not know? Like, why are you doing this? Because again, we're not talking like how you show up in the world matters. How you show up in public matters. And it's amazing how people aren't thinking about it. And I understand we're all going through stuff. So we're going to be messy. But this is why we give that leeway to young people, but not to all young people in every capacity, and certainly not to older person. Alex is 34, just a reminder, if you're just tuning in, 34. When was I supposed to be done expecting him to stop being a stupid kid? Destiny, how old is Destiny? Isn't he like 36? These men are grown. Andrew Tate's in his 40s. These men are grown. And they're out here doing the most obnoxious, horrible things, which, by the way, any of these men doing any of these things, even as teenagers, would have been absolutely a no-go. Okay? Absolutely a no-go. And by the way, this does go back to raising your kids well. Because honestly, that means these boys truly do not value people who happen to be women. Or even men. I heard Destiny also had male victims, actually, because he's bisexual. You know? You know what I'm saying? So it's not even, he doesn't even have a gender preference. All victims, as long as his ego is fulfilled. Yeah, these people are too grown to give another chance to. But as long as Trump gets elected, as long as people are so casually debating fascists, as long as any of those things are happening, like, this is a reflection of us as a whole, of what we think is tolerant or what we make excuses for. And look, I'm not saying it's not easy. I talked about this yesterday. I'm going to have some really hard conversations with the people in my life coming up because I love them enough to do it. But two, I certainly don't want to talk a game on the internet and not try to do it in my own household. Yeah, I'm going to have some very hard conversations with the people in my life who voted for Trump. Because right now we're so raw from the election. There's so much pain that it's so difficult. It's so difficult to look somebody you love in the eye and say, like, you voted for a rapist. And I know you don't believe it. I know you think it's a hoax, but it's so obviously not. And you know what's so funny? They'll say, yeah, but what about Bill Clinton? What about him? Fuck him too. Fuck him too. Fuck Bill Clinton. The fact that they, conservatives, only say, but what about Bill Clinton? What about him? Drag him by his ugly face. Drag him. Just kidding. Nobody's ugly. Drag him. You know what I mean? Drag that old man. Break his hip bone if you have to, girl. Drag him. Like, that's the thing that people don't understand. Everyone's like, I saw this even on The View, which I'm not a fan of, but they were like, Joy Behar, I think, was saying like, oh, what if Bill Clinton's on the Epstein file? Good. Get him. Don't give a fuck. Drag him. Like, that's the thing people have to understand. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, bitch. But people do. And this is why I say be careful of Hassan, because he might just be a conservative one day. Remember, conservatism isn't going to look the same forever. But stagnation will. And Hassan already is getting criticism about his stagnation, right? The stagnation. He already is showing a little bit of stagnation where I'm like, ooh, there it is. But let's hope he keeps deconstructing. You know? Chet says, why make exceptions? What is that in reference to? And I'll answer it. I don't know what that's in reference to. Discord said, yeah, he recorded a guy and people figured that wasn't consensual because it was up in the pocket. Like, ew, gross. Chat said, did you all see the tweet that was like, oh no, not Bill Clinton. I'll have to get rid of my Clinton sneakers and Clinton flag and Clinton Bible. That's so funny. Fuck that shit, bro. Chat said, imagine caring about Bill Clinton. Couldn't be me. Literally. Oh, that's what I mean. Like, you think progressives give a fuck about Bill Clinton, who took advantage of an intern and sexually assaulted her in the fucking Oval Office? I don't give a fuck about him. I don't give a fuck about him. Okay? Chad said, my comment about ABBA, it's probably fan parasociality. Like you say, you weren't really friends. It's nice. It's a nice thought or illusion, though. I hope they don't super launch into the manosphere. Yeah, you know, the problem is like, we're not all using language the same. That's the problem. Like, in some circles, I call somebody I met once a friend. And some circles, I say we're friendly because the word doesn't mean the same thing in every culture. But online, especially, people think you collab one time and you guys are friends, or you talk nicely of each other and you're friends, or being a friend matters. What does it matter if someone's your friend? You know how people are saying this with Trump and Epstein? Like, Trump was friends with Epstein. So why do people think it matters? That's what I'd like to know. Why do you think it matters that people, they were friends? What do you think it implies? Like, what do you think it implies? Right? Because there's an idea that if he was friends with Epstein, he must have been in cahoots or have knowledge or engaging in the same behavior, right? But we know that's not true, even though I do believe he was, and though I do believe he was a predator, and I do believe all the victims that have come forward. You know that's not true for our lives. You know you go home to Christmas dinner with your Trump voting parents and you didn't vote for Trump. You know your brother's in jail, but you didn't do what he did. You know your neighbor, but you didn't do it. You know you can be in association with people in which you do not have the same actions. Ever heard about guilty by association? You know, growing up, conservatives used to hold that against you. They used to say, oh, you're friends with this person, you must have done what they did. But that's not true. That's not a true experience for us as people. It can be true, right? But it's not a true experience. But we have to be able to discern. This is where wisdom comes in. This is hard because you have to earn it over years. You have to think about, if you're not the person who would do these things, why are you hanging out with these people? And there usually is a why. And now you have to think about it. Why am I hanging out with these people? Is my paycheck on the line? Are they related to me? Am I trying to do my best? Am I a community member? Am I a social worker? Am I somebody who's a teacher? Am I a mentor? You know, we talk about being there for your community, but if everyone abandons every part of their community, what are we going to do? We do the work for the people doing the work. That's my kind of mantra. If you're willing to do the work, I can do the work. I can't care about your recovery more than you do. I can't care about you more than you care about yourself. I can't. Brittany can't. Somebody else might be able to, but I can't. Right? I can't do this. So the dilemma is that, yes, sometimes guilty by association is true. I think Trump is guilty. And sometimes you're just trying to get through to your racist parents because you're hoping you'll be the bridge between them being liberated. You're not actually racist. Or maybe you were, but you deconstructed. Right? So that's the dilemma. The dilemma is like, who are you? What role do you have? And how do you play that role? And yes, if you notice genuinely like the people you're around aren't good, then you should get out. Because you were bad enough to at least be able to sit in the room with them. Maybe you were never bad enough to do what they did, but you were bad enough to sit in the room with them. Which, P.S., if you are a member, I just finished recording the episode of BoJack Horseman where Diane has to face herself with the realization that she is friends with a bad man. And what does that mean when you love somebody who's a bad person? That's the dilemma. What do we do when we know we love people who are bad? You know? It's really difficult. It's really difficult. And sometimes I wonder if people have never had that happen, if they're the bad person and that's why they don't know. I kind of do wonder for people who've like, I've never loved a bad person. That makes me think you might be the bad person in the group that other people have to love. Because are you saying you have so few people in your life that everybody in your life is perfect? Because I know that's not true. I don't even know what it would be like to exist in a world where someone you loved didn't have compromising values. Maybe I just love too many people. But that doesn't mean I make excuses for their behavior, which is why we say open with boundaries. I can love you and still call you out. I can love you and still call the police. I can love you and still visit you in prison. I can love you and still dump you. I can love you and never talk to you again. I can love you even if you're a bad person. But my love only exists within that reality of love. It doesn't shift or change because of your actions, but your actions might shift and change how I interact with you. You know? I think there is something very hard for people to grasp. I mean, we can't even get past don't send dick pics to each other. I'm sitting here talking about something so fucking advanced, people can't get it. And I know you can't get it, not you, my audience, but whoever stranger might be listening to this. This might be the craziest thing you've ever heard because you're still, you know what I mean? Like you can't even you're still in 101, girls. And that's the problem. I'm saying you can get to the point where you deconstruct, where you love people in their ugliness, but you do not tolerate it. You can love people in their ugliness, but love is not tolerating ugliness. It's exposing it and saying, I love you no matter how ugly you are, but as long as you remain ugly, like your spirit is ugly, not physically. Your spirit, your consciousness is in an ugly state of being. Okay? And you are unwilling to engage in anything to make it better. For your sake and for mine, for the sake of my community, I must separate. For the sake of my community, I must open with boundaries, right? Okay? That's the thing. All right. Chet said after BoJack, have you thought about watching Tuca and Birdie, but by the artist who decided how BoJack was going to look and be more centered like? I don't know what you're talking about, but that's interesting. My members will be able to vote on what series we watch next, as I do series just for them. So whatever my members want me to watch, I'll watch next, you know? Yeah, unconditional love does not mean unconditional relationship. Exactly. You can't necessarily choose who you love, but you can choose how and if you choose to interact with them. Exactly. You know, exactly. Chess said, but Brittany, you said you weren't a philosophy teacher, but I think some points are fundamental philosophy thoughts and could be compiled in something, edible Google Doc. LOL, girl probably would pay for that shit. Me as a parent. I'm not well, look, you can call me a teacher, but know that I don't want to oversell that I'm just a girl on the internet, right? I'm not a philosophy teacher. I've never done academia. I'm not qualified to run a classroom. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. I'm just a girl who's creating, yes, her own philosophy. Links in the description. It's a work in progress. And 2, a girl who has a special interest in philosophy, and a girl who's been on a journey to deconstruct everything from gender to everything else. Thank you guys for all the many compliments on my hair today. I did braids. Look how long my hair is. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I want to say that I am just a person working on it, but I know I got here, which means you can get here when you're ready. I would rather the world be a little closer to deconstruction, not where I am exactly, like not one-to-one my life. But yeah, I would love for you guys to wake up every day and love your life and go to bed every day and love your life, no matter how hard it gets. I would love for you guys to be in a position of radical acceptance where no matter how bad the world gets, you can still breathe. Yeah, because it took me a long time to get here. But I would just want as many people as possible to get there. I want as many people as possible to, you know, heal in the ways that I've had and will continue to heal, right? Absolutely. Like, I really want that for you guys. So if I can do anything, I'll do it, but it has to be, you know, within reason, of course. But I'm also not trying to put myself in a position of power. And that's the problem, is like, it will be tempting for you to pedestal me. It will be tempting for you to see me as like infallible, and that I need you to remember that I'm just a person. And I need to remind myself of that, because that's the problem with all these men on the internet, is they get into these positions and they get to just hand wave it away because they're everybody's favorites. I don't want you to hand wave me away. I don't want to get to such a position in your mind that you don't just hold me accountable, you know, in a way that's reasonable, in a way that I don't hold myself accountable, right? Because again, okay, we talked about Alex. What would Alex do, right? To prove he understood what he did? The same thing Destiny would never do. Get off the internet and never come back. But how could he do that when everything about his ego is riding on the validation he gets from his lol cow audience? If Destiny really understands the amount of harm he has caused, he will get off the internet and never show up again. He will stop debating. He will stop advocating for Democrats. He will stop pretending to be anything other than the Zionist he is. He will literally disappear and do something else with his life. But he'll never do that, will he? Vosh, same thing. Disappear. It's too late. You don't get it. Disappear. But they won't. And they'll say, well, what have you done? Nothing like that, girl. That's the problem. Tons of us have never done that shit. You will never see. You will never see. Because we don't do that shit. Tons of us Do not ever cross that boundary. And that's the problem. We need to be promoting and working with people who never cross the boundary. But Destiny's not that different from anyone who works in politics, is he? Look at the way people work in politics now. He fits perfectly into politics. He's as scummy and awful as all of them. You know? That's the problem. That's the problem. You know? Like Ethan, why couldn't Ethan just take a break from the internet? If he was so in so much pain from the internet, why didn't he just take 30 days off? Why didn't he take 6 months off? God knows he has the money, but he can't, right? But he can't. His ego won't let him. His ego won't let him. It's horrible, bro. It's horrible. Chad says, I know to not pedestal you. I also think someone with passion and as well studied special interest philosophy, I'm happy to take as information teacher. Girl, rather you than these men. Yeah, I'm here for live stream. I host a Discord 101 once a month. I'm on the Discord. I definitely have those things. Like, I don't know how to create a document where you would find all the resources in one place. I just don't know how to do that. It's not my specialty, right? Like, I don't know how to do that, but I appreciate that. And I will be here Monday through Friday like usual. I'm available on the Discord. We do events every Sunday. But yeah, I don't actually know how to do that. In the same way that I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to do these things. You know, I definitely don't take for granted how hard these people work to put documents together. You know, maybe in the future though, but I don't have those skills right now, girls, you know. Now, do you have any thoughts or any questions to wrap up today's stream? Because that's actually it for today's short stream. I'm going to go record the podcast. You know how it is, girls. You know how it is. I'm a one-woman show. I got a lot to do. But I also just want this to be a nice short stream so people can watch, get the information, and leave. You know, let me know. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm here. You have 3 seconds. Because that I think you'll have a book eventually. Yeah, maybe eventually, for sure. You know, unlike these men, I'm not narcissistic enough to think it's time. And I want to give myself the credit for that. I'm just not narcissistic enough to think now is the time to do a cash grab or something. It's not the time. But in like 10 years, you know, or like 15 years, yeah, it will be time and I'll have earned it. But I really want to earn my wisdom and I just don't think I'm there yet. But I appreciate you guys being so supportive, you know? Yeah. I think I do appreciate that more than anything. Chet said you could also maybe create graphics for your opening and closing of your streams. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate it. I do have graphics for the closing of the streams, for the record. But also, guys, just a reminder, I do this full time and I'm successful enough. I don't need help on being a YouTuber. I already am a YouTuber. But with that said, I appreciate that. I don't need unsolicited business advice. You know what I'm saying, girls? I already actually do this full time. Sometimes I think my audience is so helpful that they forget I'm already doing this full time. Thank you. But, you know, with that said, see you tomorrow. Yeah, I think that'll be good. See you tomorrow, girls. We did it. Fuck these misogynists, bro. And if you're a woman or gender non-conforming or NB or anything like that, you also probably suffer from internalized misogyny. Deconstruct. 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 Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye. I love you. Bye. Bye. I love you, but not in a parasocial way. Okay? Don't slide into my DMs. Thank you. Samantha Dragonati. Links in the description. See you tomorrow.